welcome back to the Sounds of Stadia Podcast for episode number 144 of your weekly gaming show, where we round up all of the Stadia and video game news for your listening or viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/Helix Cloud Games, or up there in the digital clouds on your podcast preference of choice. You join me this week for a fantastic show where we're going to be breaking down all of the Stadia 2.0 rumours and leaks, partnering with Nvidia. Saints Row, is it certainly coming? It might well be. Some Atari classics, some updates on cloud competition, and much, much more. But before we get into all that, don't forget to give the video a like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you're kept in the loop with all of the content we have here on Helix Cloud Games, like our Let's Plays, live streams, CloudQuest series, and much, much more. But without further delay, welcome to the show. My name's Chris, your host for the day. I'm joined alongside the man of many pixels, Mr. Richie. How are you doing? Welcome.
I'm doing pretty well. It's been a pretty good week. Went to see Red Hot Chili Peppers down in Manchester. That was awesome.
Yeah, you did.
Had a few too many cocktails, but
getting
you've
fancy
got to,
with us. Rocktails, as we said.
Nothing wrong with a midweek cocktail.
No, certainly not, especially when you've got some time booked off work. The weather's nice. It's very, very warm in our studios today. It's one of those things, Richie, in the peak of summer, I always forget that it gets so warm for like maybe a week of the year in the UK. For those of our American and European audience, you know what we're like. It usually rains for 95% of the year. It's a bit cold and dingy, but we do get 1 week, and we love it, but we also hate it at the same time. And having 50 different variations of LED lights in your room mid-morning does not help. But,
and the PC kicking out heat.
And my legs are right under the desk with my PC tower. So don't worry, though. That will not hamper the show. We're good to get going. There's plenty of news to discuss, as we mentioned. But before we do get into all of that, I do need to say a massive heartfelt thank you to all the amazing people who checked out our new PlayStation podcast this past week. We've gone out on a new adventure. We've launched into the world of cloud gaming and PlayStation alongside the PlayStation Plus global rollout. We've got plenty of thoughts to discuss on the other show with that one. Thank you again to our brand new two co-hosts, Jeff and Rob, who joined us. And thank you to you, the amazing audience. You're welcome for those two new guys. And the show in general has been fantastic. It's keeping pace almost with this very show, which, considering we're 144 episodes in and episode 1 of another podcast is doing equally well, it's great to see. Richie, would you like to add anything onto the back of our first episode of our launch of Talking the PS last week?
Just thank you all for watching it. We are continuing the rollout of the podcast form of it. Some places we submit and then they go, we'll get back to you in a couple of weeks. But you can't submit till you have an episode up. So if it's not there in your podcast service of choice, let us know. We'll chase it up. Yeah,
it will be there. So things like, I think Apple Podcasts are very particular. Google Podcasts. It's up on Spotify. I think
I saw a notification for Google come through.
Okay, we'll get all over that. But yeah, if you listen to it usually on those feeds, do not fear, it will be there. But of course, it will be up on youtube.com/Helix Cloud Games every Tuesday. So remember, you've got the Sounds of Stadia podcast on a Monday, Talking to PS on a Tuesday, you've got CloudQuest goes up on a Friday, you've got our live streams on Thursdays. There's almost not a day of the week you cannot consume some cloud gaming content from our channel. So thank you very, very much. We love you being along for this exciting journey. And we've got a great episode of CloudQuest this week, Richie, where we are actually going to be talking about Google Stadia versus the new PlayStation Plus after we've had some hands-on time with it for episode 73. Very excited for that. And of course, our members, our Helix Heroes, you wonderful folks out there who support the channel that little bit extra, give us your hard-earned cash to help improve the channel. You get that up to 6 days early, so exciting stuff for you. You don't have to wait for CloudQuest. It's right there, right now, when this show goes live. Right, Richie, we're getting to the end of June now. We'll probably have some pro game news next week, but we haven't got it this week, which thankfully gives us a whole show to discuss all the other topics. Will you do me the honours of introducing us to the
super sexy special Stadia story segment? AKA the news.
The news, indeed. We confused, I think, Jeff and Rob a little bit last week when we did the introduction to the news.
Yeah, we didn't prep them very well.
Didn't prep them for that or the outros, and it was clear as day to see. But you know what? This week I wouldn't be surprised if the same stuff catches them out. So we'll have a little chuckle about that. But yes, the news. We are here to break down all of your Stadia and gaming news. And we've got some quite big stories. There's not a thick chunk of news, but the stories in themselves are quite interesting. Now, before we do dive into it all, Richie, I really do want to caveat the news this week with I think we probably, a lot of it we're not expecting, or at least not expecting anytime soon, because the thumbnail and the headline for this episode will probably appear as clickbaity, because there's no real other way of talking about these news stories without appearing as though we're singing praises of something that might never come. However, story number 1, Richie, reading from 9to5 Google, it was picked up by a couple of other sources. Google Stadia is preparing to support servers with Nvidia GPUs. So, reading from 9to5 Google, it looks like Google Stadia and/or Immersive Stream for Games is preparing to shake up its graphics hardware with new support for servers made with Nvidia GPUs. Since its 2019 launch, Google Stadia has been powered by custom-built GPUs from AMD. Researchers have generally agreed that the servers for Stadia run on AMD's Radeon Pro V340 hardware, or something close to approximating it. Based on the information we know as of today, which is Stadia's modified Linux kernel versions, which is the coding behind the scenes, because it's open source, a lot of stuff at Google is open source, we can actually read into it. And this is kind of where we get like the APK file information from, Richie, where you're essentially able to dig into the coding and see what's going on. And some techie boffins across the internet have done just that. And if you look into it, it does in fact say that file support instances of NVIDIA GPUs. Now, the reason I wanted to caveat this news story is because, of course, the internet will do what it does, most likely, and it will run wild with this story. Reddit will be popping off. There'll be plenty of YouTube videos, ourselves included, no doubt, that this, Richie, potentially prepping for Stadia 2.0.
Yes and no. I still hold to my theory that we will not ever see a discrete Stadia 2.0. I think this might be an expansion of the servers they have, because some of the servers they have for some games are absolutely fine.
Mm-hmm.
Why get rid of them when you could just internally they might have a second generation Stadia or immersive stream server with new Nvidia cards to play the top end AAA games and the lower and things like indie games and of games that aren't aiming to get like that 4K 60 could be on the original stuff. So I don't think they'll come out and go, hey, Stadia 2.0 is here, but I think potentially Stadia 2.0 could be around the corner. We just won't be told about it.
Yeah, so looking into the article a little bit more, it does go on to basically say that the existing slate of games are optimized to run on AMD graphics cards, but as you alluded to there, the whole purpose of Stadia in the way Mr. Phil Harrison stood on stage and actually presented was that this whole cloud gaming platform and running from Google servers, it's iterative. So just like Google's cloud infrastructure, they will be constantly adding to it and iterating and adding new tech and upgrading the hardware behind the scenes. And that was the whole point. You don't need to buy a new box every several years to put under your television. Now, you and me being on the show discussing games, and as the industry moves away from the last generation and fully embraces PS5, Series X and powerful PCs, we've always kind of questioned where Stadia sits within that. And I think you've always alluded to it being almost like a Stadia Pro, not the subscription model, but like a PlayStation Pro equivalent, where it's like a mid-generational leap between the old tech and the tech that's currently available on market. And that's, I think, looking at the games that we play on a regular basis on this platform, that's kind of where we're at right now.
Some games that, like Shadow of the Tomb Raider, that I've been able to A/B them alongside across two different generations of PlayStation and on Stadia, where I just happen to have the game multiple times. So it's just like, well, I've got like in terms of quality, going from worst to best, I'm seeing PS4, Stadia, then PS5.
Yeah, there's a lot of change that kind of goes into it all. And again, we've always said, I guess, is eventually they'll need to do something to keep up. Just like the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, that's the nature of technology. It eventually gets older. And if Stadia need to and want to be in this market, even with their immersive games stream for games, they will need to keep up at some point. They will need to reinvest. And what I would love, and what we've kind of wanted for ages, is that if they ever do up the hardware, that would, one, show Google's commitment to the platform, but I think it would give them a great jumping off point for relaunching the product as a whole. And I think we did a whole CloudQuest episode on that, where what would they do if they were to relaunch, and it would be, I want to see commitment to AAA games, partnerships with developers going forward, And I realistically think the hardware will need to keep evolving to keep up. They don't need to do a big song and dance about the hardware because it's boring teraflops and GPUs and such. But having it just in a blog post somewhere would be enough for me, just to state the fact that, look, we are still investing, we are upgrading, we are a tech company, we don't rest on our laurels, and we're committed to the future of this platform.
I don't think a blog post is good enough, to be honest.
You want a video?
Because if they're going to market this, then market it. If they're not, then a blog post is just kind of going, hey, yeah, we've upgraded the servers, but we're not going to tell anyone about it. You'd like
to think they could reach out to...
It's not that showing of commitment that I think we need to see from Google to Stadia.
I mean, in an ideal world, you'd like to think the journalists would pick up on that. Like the IGNs, the Eurogamers, the Kotakus would go, oh, look, just like if there was another console launching, could you imagine IGN not acknowledging a PS6 being announced?
Ideally, but it's not for journalists to market your products.
True, but you can always reach out to them and say we've got a story regarding this, and
if they did,
invite them to an event.
Out to the IGNs, to the Kotakus of the world, had a hands-on event for them where they could start do some footage recording. They have maybe A/B the servers, so take something like trying to think of, take Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk's probably a good case example because although it runs well in Stadia, we know on PC you can push it even further. So if they go, oh, he's Cyberpunk on the current servers, he's on the new ones, can you see the difference? And it's both running at 60 frames per second, but the new server stuff has, say, ray tracing enabled, it's true 4K instead of upscaled, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
That could be a way of marketing it. But if they're just putting in a blog post as they do on this general Stadia blogs, if you're not in the ecosystem, you're not reading that, and the journalists don't seem to care about Stadia because it doesn't sell enough clicks.
Yeah, we essentially get articles from 9 to 5 Google.
Yeah, and that's because they're a Google-focused journalist.
Yeah, definitely. We don't see much other than when it's maybe a hit piece. And to kind of bring it back around, there's something to be said about upgrading the servers, because we know GeForce Now introduced their 3080 tier, which got plenty of praise, rightly so. You get to stream with the best graphics card available in the cloud without having to fork out or find graphics card. Remember, all these silicon chips and stuff are still so hard to find out there in the market. The shortage is still very much a real thing. And then Game Pass with Xbox are really partnering with the games, but they also upgraded the hardware to Series X late last year. Yeah. So the competition are making moves. We still really don't know what Luna are doing behind the scenes because it's limited to the United States right now. But you've got to imagine Amazon, Microsoft, Nvidia, ironically, they're all doubling down on the commitment to cloud gaming. And Google are doing that in the millions, because we see articles come out all the time about them investing in new server buildings, new infrastructure across the entire planet. We see announcements every week. Obviously, tangentially linked to Stadia, but it's Google's infrastructure is always getting bigger and growing because they rely on it for everything. Businesses, the search engine, their entire cloud network. And I always just think Stadia is part of that. They just don't really acknowledge it or commit to it. And I think at some point, shareholders, investors, the public, the demand will reach a point when they need to say something and do something. And hopefully this highlights the potential that they're working with not only their competition, but fantastic GPUs to power some future technology, because eventually the games will stop coming, Richie. And I know it feels like they already have to some degree, but we're seeing Gotham Knights was recently told is next gen only. They ditched the last gen version. I think on PlayStation, God of War Ragnarok is the last big cross-generation game, and then going forward, it's all going to be PS5, Series X exclusive, and such. So,
and you've got to think something like God of War Ragnarok, that might just be because of the chip shortage. That means that they haven't been able to produce PlayStation 5s fast enough. That might be the only reason they have a PS4 version coming.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of it's set down to the fact that there's 130 million PlayStation 4s in the wild. It's a big user base to leave behind. But Stadia doesn't have that problem, and I do worry sometimes if they don't upgrade the hardware. Even amazing partnerships like the one they have with Ubisoft, at what point will Ubisoft turn around and say, our games are being held back by your hardware, so unfortunately, Stadia, we're going to ditch you because we're focusing on PS5, Series X and PC right now, and then where are we at?
I think one of the things they've made a mistake in is focusing on 4K. If they went if they went 2K rather than 4K, they could have probably hit everything 2K 60 frames per second, and then we're in a different world. But by focusing on like 4K 60 and then largely missing it for most things, then I don't know what's going on out in my street. Sorry about that noise. If
Couldn't
you can
hear a thing.
All right, someone's just blaring some music and just right outside my window. But
Party at Richie's house.
I've lost my train of thought now.
Either way, they need to upgrade to do something different.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're going to get left behind.
The point I was working to is I don't think a cloud gaming option has to have the same level of graphical fidelity as you'll get out your top end box into your TV. Mm-hmm. But it has to be in the same sort of category. It needs to feel like it's the same generation of hardware, not a previous generation of hardware.
Yeah, and a good example of doing that right is Nintendo with the Switch. The Switch and previous Nintendo consoles, they've always been lacking in the hardware specification department. But you know what they make up for it for? Their games and their marketing to the correct audience. And obviously Nintendo has a huge commitment to family friendly, and they sell gangbusters because of that. And don't get me wrong, there's not one game on the Switch that I have for my PS5 that runs better on the Switch. Like, that's a hard fact because of the hardware. But there's still 110, 20 million of them sold. It's outstripping PS5 and Xbox everywhere on the planet.
There is something to be said for Nintendo do need to up their game a bit more as well. Because I've recently been playing Legends Arceus, and the amount of pop-in textures you see in that game is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And there's things like I've seen like Breath of the Wild comparisons between someone playing a ported version on like an emulated version on PC compared to the version running on Switch, and you realise it's the hardware. The Switch is really holding that game back. Yeah,
which is crazy. But obviously Nintendo almost get a pass because they've got 40 years of legacy and cultivated content. Google Stadia, Amazon Luna, and a lot of the other ones, Boosteroid just launching, they don't have that benefit. They don't have that heritage to lean back on and say, look, we might have got it wrong this time. We know we're not the best, but look at our catalogue we've got. Look at the history of games. Like everyone on this planet knows who Super Mario is.
Yeah.
And that goes a long way.
I think we talked when the Stadia Games and Entertainment closed down that Google doesn't necessarily need to have their own first-party library of titles if they're hitting all the AAA's day and date to have similar quality to the other consoles.
Yeah,
because that's the selling point. It's like we are a cheap entry level to get all the games you want, apart from the exclusives.
Yeah, because we knew exclusive. We never were going to see Master Chief or Nathan Drake or Joel and Ellie on Super Mario or Zelda on Stadia. We knew that for a fact. But then as the weeks and months have gone on, Richie, we've seen every other studio be snapped up or purchased. We've seen partnerships collapse because of the closure of Stadia Games Entertainment. We've seen investment in AAA titles being ported across reduced. And it does make you wonder, like, at what point does the well dry up? And if we're pushing towards this next-gen future, again, eventually the bell has to toll at some point. The bill is due kind of thing.
And there's more cloud gaming services coming to the market, so they really need to do this. And I think they do need to advertise it as well. My worry, as you mentioned investors earlier, is Google's focus is now on the immersive stream. So like investor calls or things like maybe a Google I/O, they'll focus on or developer conference at GDC. They'll focus on the underlying tech of immersive stream, and then Stadia will just be a footnote like, services running on the immersive stream, such as Google Stadia, such as AT&T,
Google Cloud,
and it'll just be but they won't come out and go right. Last few years we've learnt a lot. Stadia hasn't become what we wanted it to be. We've went back, we've upgraded it. We're going to go again. This is not for the group. I'd love them to actually mention the Google graveyard and go, this isn't for the graveyard.
Yeah, we're going to prove them wrong.
We've been quiet for the last few years as we were trying to refigure out how Google Stadia needs to work, and now we've got it. We're going again. Yeah,
we've had some obstacles. We've had some falls. We've got up. We dusted ourselves down. Potentially replaced leadership. We've got new investments. We've got a roadmap plan, and here we go with it. And maybe, Richie, that could all kickstart with story number 2 of the week, and that is the Saints Row conversation. We're going back and forth with this one. It ping-pongs every episode, every week. We seem to have a little shred of news information, and this week it's probably the most hardened information we've possibly had. Obviously, we had the rating initially, and then there was coding found within the website. However, our friend Duncan reached out to the developers, and they said there's no plans for it. But now, Richie, this week, French press kits have gone out, and it would appear that as part of the Saints Row press kit, they've sent out things like Saints Row mugs, postcards, in line with the Boss Factory kind of demo, build your own characters stuff that dropped last week. Was a postcard, and on the back of the postcard, it broke it all down, and on the right of the postcard, where you would traditionally put the address and who it's from, it's got the developer, Volition, the publisher, Deep Silver, the genre, Action, platforms, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Series X, PC via Epic, and Google Stadia. Date, 23rd of October. August, not October. Is this, Richie, the most hardened piece of evidence we have to say that Saints Row will be the second AAA game to arrive on Stadia in 2022?
Yes. But again, I mean, why? If this is coming, why not say? Both the developers and Google are just very quiet on this. It's like, what if it is coming? Just tell us. I don't see where the secrecy benefits anyone.
It's almost like laughable to a degree, isn't it? But
and if it's not coming, I mean, Google should again tell us. I know the developers apparently have told Duncan that there's no plans, but Google, you come out as well and go, it's not coming. Make it unequivocal, and then, or it was planned to come at one point and it's not. I know it's going to be bad for you, but then the silence is just it's terrible.
It's such an odd choice, isn't it? We know we've critiqued them for this since day one, but the silence does fuck all for your brand. It does fuck all for your marketing, and it's such a bad approach. Where if you have a AAA title coming out, every other platform holder that's getting it has been promoting this since it was teased at, was it the Game Awards? I think it was first shown off, or maybe last Summer Game Fest. The second your logo is up there, people are thinking about pre-ordering, they're talking about the game, they're getting excited to play it. And the fact that it's reached a point when the press kits are going out with all the promotional material, and your platform is hard printed onto some physical props to be sent out to journalists, and you've not even in the slightest shred of information given your fans, your consumers, your audience a nod to say that it might be coming later this year. Bear in mind, we've had no AAA titles since Extraction in January. It's now nearly July, and you're not going to use a blog post or a trailer or a Connect, maybe, to talk about your product and one of the biggest titles to arrive on it this year. It's simple stuff.
It just needs to be on the trailers of this game.
Yep.
Have your logo, and when any time like an announcer goes, coming to PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, PC via Epic, and Google Stadia.
Mm-hmm. And Google
Stadia. That's
the
basic level, like. But one thing I do want to shout out in the story is whoever took the photo, they've got the Sonic power-ups in the background. You know, like the TV screens, for Sonic 1.
Oh,
like,
yes.
where you get the extra life and the invincibility power up. I know, that's cool.
Shout out to Sonic. One day. We'll get Sonic outside of the Olympic game one day. Yeah, it's the Lego layout. I do want that set, but I also don't want to spend that much money on a piece of Lego. But yeah, Saints Row, so you're pretty confident it's coming this August then?
I'm not confident.
Okay. Do we think
we
might get it later?
Confident. I haven't got a clue, to be honest. Like, I'd love to say, oh yeah, this is great evidence that it's coming, but I just don't know, because I don't know why they wouldn't say it's coming, and then because Volition have said that there's no plans, that makes me think that it's not coming, and maybe this is a holdout from a previous idea.
Yeah. So
when it was planned to come, then it's no longer coming, and that message hasn't filtered down to everywhere it needed to.
So then, the way you're sitting with all of this, you to me are a prime example of why you need to market something, because you're a big Stadia fan. You're in it. You're in 144 episodes of a podcast in. If you don't think it's coming, or you've still got those uncertainties, that's where marketing comes into it. That's where talking to your customers comes into it. And I know people sit out there and go, oh, well, they said months and years ago that they're going to keep everything on the stealth and loyalty. It's not working. It's literally not working.
Everyone called them out for it at the time. That is a bad idea. Don't do that.
And
where I'm at generally with Stadia is, unless we have concrete evidence, like an official trailer with the logo, or someone from Google announcing the game, or someone from the developer saying it is coming to Stadia in an official event, it's not coming. Until we have that official info.
Yeah.
I'll extend that ESRB ratings and the like. If we get one of them, chances, I think it's a good chance.
You like your cheeky ESRB rating, do you?
Well, you've got to submit it. If you're at the point where you're submitting it, you've done most of the work.
All right.
So, I don't know.
I take your ESRB rating, Richie, and I raise you the Borderlands Handsome Jack Collection and Mafia 1 and 2. Because they also had ESRB ratings.
That's why I'm not like giving it a concrete. It's like gives
you hope.
Or PEGI rating. It makes me optimistic.
Yeah, which we haven't had for this. Again, to clarify, we do have Saints Row titles on the platform. We've had them as pro games. Volition, THQ Nordic, they have working relationships with Google Stadia. If we do not get this day and date, Richie, and it comes at a later time, it's another missed opportunity, right? If this doesn't come on August 23rd along with other platforms, it's another question of how are you nearly 3 years into existence and you cannot get games day and date?
Even if it wasn't day and date, if they told us it's coming but not day and date, that is fine. That is better than it not coming or just complete silence.
Because ideally, this is the time frame you would want pre-orders available.
Yeah.
To kind of rouse the energy leading into the game's launch. If you want to play this on Stadia, jump in and and again, we know pre-orders are a bit defunct in cloud gaming, but it's people putting their money down nice and early and saying, yeah, I'm looking forward to playing this game. A demo would be nice, actually. The Boss Factory stuff dropped last week.
A pre-order is it's a way of showing people that the game is definitely coming.
Yeah.
If nothing else. And you get things like pre-order bonuses and stuff, so if people are into that stuff,
it's there.
Yeah, if you get, I think cloud gaming does need pre-orders, even though it's kind of redundant, because non-cloud gaming platforms have them and they offer extra stuff.
Yeah, and
so you want to be matching.
Yeah, and especially without the physical collector's editions being a thing on Stadia. I know I've been saying since like probably the first episode, I'd love a virtual code where I can go into my local game shop, buy a copy of Assassin's Creed Valhalla with an Eivor statue and whatever, and with that just comes a digital claim code for Stadia, and I just log in, type it in the app where I would do a promotional code.
QR code, scan it.
QR code. But on the flip side of that, I still get my little collectible, my statuette, my Valhalla ring or bottle opener, whatever it may be, just something to have that physical presence. But we digress. Saints Row, there is another ring in the chain to tell us that it may or may not be coming. Do let us know in the comments below if you think Saints Row will be arriving this August 23rd. And if not, nothing you can really do about it. You just have to wait until they talk to us. Moving on though, this month, we will be celebrating a stalwart, a veteran of the games industry. Atari will be celebrating their 50th anniversary, Richie. Doesn't that make you feel old? 50 years of Atari.
Well, I'm not as old as Atari, so I'm okay.
But it's still, to think that it's 50 is crazy, because the video games industry is quite young. But to say that there's a company out there that's hit 50, it just shows you how far it's came along. And to celebrate that, they are expanding, they're relaunching, they're going to have a party, it would appear. Founded 50 years ago on June 27th, 1972, and they've done plenty of stuff recently to kind of refocus their business goals and what they want to do. And reading straight from the Atari website, reaching 50 years is a special moment for Atari, the industry, and for fans of video games from across the globe, said the Atari CEO Wade Rosen. We plan to continue celebrating all year long, but by the week of June 27th will include the announcement of 2 amazing new titles, the release of a special interview with our founder, Noel Bushnell, some special collaborations, previews of new merchandise, collectibles that we know will excite the fans. And it goes on the article to basically say, behind the new leadership, the team at Atari has launched 6 new PC and console titles in the last 11 months, including 5 titles from the Atari Recharge series, which is the kind of taking the classics and rebooting them into a modern sense, and the critically acclaimed puzzle platformer. Atari has also introduced 16 classics to PC and cloud streaming services over that period, as the company returns to its roots in game development and publishing. Now, we're into gaming, but I'm not aware of where these 16 titles have been released on streaming services. It might be the Atari Collections, I think. Amazon Luna's got a retro channel, so I'm thinking it might be along those lines. But
there's no mention of Luna on their website on the platforms. On the game section, there's a platforms listing, and there's, I mean, it's just this sort of stuff you'd expect, really. PC, PlayStation 4, 5, Steam, Xbox One S, X, Switch, iOS, Epic Games Store,
exactly,
and Atari VCS.
So that makes me think to bring around to some Stadia news. So their anniversary is on June 27th, Richie, which is this Monday. We usually get a blog post on a Tuesday. Sometimes we do get one on a Monday. And the eagle-eyed people out there on the internet have noticed that there was a Next Up on Stadia post due to go live at some point, but the URL was a dead link. So our friends over at Stadia Dosage, reading from their article, is they noticed a URL link with a hidden post to a Stadia community blog can be found on the Google Stadia community website, and the URL reads, Next Up on Stadia, Atari to launch Centipede and Black Widow. Now, if you look at the list of Atari games, there is Black Widow Recharged and Centipede Recharged, so some of the classic titles from yesteryear kind of rebooted and rehashed. Richie, that pretty much to me confirms that we'll be getting a blog post this week confirming Centipede and Black Widow Recharged coming to Stadia.
It seems to be likely, but again, until we see something concrete, I'm not going to be disappointed if it doesn't come.
Oh, does a URL link not confirm that for you?
I mean, we've got press kits for Saints Row that don't convince me.
That is true, yeah. A URL straight from the horse's mouth doesn't convince you. That's how sceptical you became, Richie, in your 50 years of Atari celebrations. For me, it's again, if we do get these games confirmed coming this week, fantastic. Are they going to blow the lid off anything? No. These are potentially 40, 50-year-old titles that are getting a rehash. Don't get me wrong, the recharge versions of them look fun, but it's the type of fun I'd maybe have for 20 minutes or in an arcade. Obviously, you and me spent a long time in an arcade last month. You don't spend that long on these type of games. It's very much a case of, collect, kill the baddies, high score, you're out.
You play, this great nostalgia, then after like 10 minutes go, I'll try something else.
Yeah, exactly. You just kind of a la carte jump and choose between them. Great to see Atari back. The biggest franchise Atari still own, for me, is Roller Coaster Tycoon. Would I love to see that on Stadia with mouse and support keyboard? Damn right I would.
Hell yeah.
Will it be coming? Probably not. But yeah, I just wanted to touch on that one. Nice little digging up from our Stadia Dosage friends. Interesting. I'm going to check the URL now, actually. Live right now. It is still a dead link. But to give you the full breakdown, it's community.stadia.com / blah, 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 Stadia community blog / Next Up on Stadia - Atari - to launch - Centipede - Black Widow. It's a very particular URL.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to be optimistic. I think these are coming. I think I'm going to go guess the pro games as well.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a surprise. I mean, we're due our pro game announcements this Tuesday, so
maybe that's why they decided not to do a Next Up. Save it for pro game announcement.
Very much so. Very much could be. Interesting stuff. But moving on from the Atari celebrations, happy birthday, Atari. You don't look a day over 49. Moving on, next story of the week is a little bit of another interesting one. PlayStation Plus collection, of course, obviously rolled out. If you check out our Talking the PS, brand new PlayStation podcast just launched on the channel this week. Myself, Richie, Jeff and Rob round up all of the cloud gaming and PlayStation news right here on the channel or on podcast services. Go check it out. We implore you to. It's a fantastic show with a new panel and we get into a lot of juicy news. But everyone's been checking it out. We're going to talk about it on CloudQuest this week, Richie. An interesting little tidbit came out of all of that news across our social media channels. And over on Twitter, an even more eagle-eyed individual by the Twitter handle Kabaj Hassan noticed that when booting up PlayStation Plus Premium, and they have obviously their cloud gaming, so you can stream the cloud titles across the PlayStation 3 library, classic games and stuff. One, Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, which is available on Google Stadia, when you're booting the game up into the loading menu and the title screen, it mentions a slight passing informational message referring to Google Stadia, Richie. Now, without jumping down a rabbit hole, I just want to caveat, I do not think PlayStation Plus is powered by Google Stadia.
Well, we actually know it's not.
Well, I mean, we know that because we've tested it out and there's a clear difference as well.
Well,
and we know that.
Also, they've announced that they're using Microsoft's Azure service.
That's true. There's a bunch. I mean, they've also got their own... who did they acquire? Why can't I think of the name? Gaikai. They bought Gaikai for many, many millions, many, many years ago, and to this day they probably haven't utilised it still. But from this story, yes, if you boot it up, only in the French version only, so when it's in the French language, I won't try and butcher the language, but I will read it thanks to our other social media friend, RJ, used the magic of Google Lens to translate it, and it says... Right on the splash screen, Bloodstained Ritual of the Night with the castle in the background and all the amazing 16-bit animation art. Info message, do not turn off Stadia or close the game when this icon appears on the screen. Now, Richie, I would love to live in a world, we would love to live in a world where Google Stadia partnered with PlayStation to not only improve the PlayStation Plus streaming offerings, but also to have that collaboration with an amazing... legacy platform such as Sony PlayStation. This is just an error left over from language translation, right?
Yeah, I'd suspect so. I suspect that this version of the game it's the same probably build of the game on the PlayStation Cloud end as it is on Stadia, and for whatever reason, there's a bug that's just pulled up the wrong text.
Yeah, it doesn't happen in the English version, but there was a brief moment when I saw the post where I was like, "Oh, really?" And then all of the reality came flooding back to me, and it was like, "No, it'd be something."
There's probably something weird in the code that does it does a check to see what platform it's on. It's checked if this is the cloud version. It's probably checked when it's not playing PS4, not playing PS5. Push the Stadia text in French.
Yeah.
Where it's that check or something just hasn't worked properly.
Yeah.
But yeah. I think that's all this is.
Yeah. So we won't read into it too much, folks. If you want to take the story and run with it, by all means, do that. But it's just a funny little glitch in the language conversion. And
PlayStation buys Google.
I do think it does. It almost adds a bit of weight to it because it's a cloud streaming service as well. If this was just like running on the disc version of, I don't think there is a disc version of Bloodstained actually, but the downloaded version on a PS4 or something, you wouldn't think anything of it. But the fact it's the brand new, it's the cloud streaming version, which makes you think, ooh, Stadia's in the same ballpark as that. But if we put our realistic hats on, yeah, it's clearly just a glitch in the language conversion, and it's pulled through the wrong message. It's coding. Video games are complicated, and there's a million and one things you need to sign off. But did make me chuckle.
I don't know for certain, but it's entirely possible. PlayStation is running off a modified version of Linux themselves, which might be why it's the same build, probably the same build of the game.
Quite possibly, but until we get,
I really don't know. So,
no,
so don't quote me on that.
No,
one.
Don't worry. But yet, we of course this week on CloudQuest we'll be going away and we'll be comparing the brand new PlayStation Plus because even though this is quite funny seeing the Stadia title showing up on a PlayStation platform, who'd have thought we'd never see the day. They did launch a slew of new games into the cloud, and myself and Richie and Rob have all been testing them out across the PC world as well, trying to run it from our desktop. We've had some ups and downs. You and me jumped on one point this week, Richie, and we kind of compared how our two experiences were going. So we're going to go talk about that on CloudQuest. Exciting stuff and more gaming in the cloud from our channel. So if you are a Helix Hero, you can get that up to 6 days early when it drops on Sundays. Or alternatively, if you don't want to support the channel a little bit more, no problem. You will get it on free feeds come the Friday when CloudQuest goes live to the masses out there alongside everything else. But we do appreciate our Helix Heroes for all your continued support. Right, Richie, next up on the dock, we've got some more new. Interesting again, no particular small specific stories this week, but there's some big articles to come out of kind of the world when you look at it. Batman, Arkham Knight. We've been a bit bitter about this one for quite some time because it's been available to AT&T customers in America, however not Google Stadia customers who have the platform, have potentially spent hundreds of pounds on the platform, and we know it works. It looks as though the AT&T experience has pulled Batman Arkham Knight from their website now. So previously, if you went onto the website, you could see, at the moment, you could see Control and Batman, and all you had to do was put your AT&T mobile number into the website, pop in your postcode, confirm that you're not a robot, accept the terms and conditions, and then you can play those two games via streaming, no downloads, no waiting, via 5G, Wi-Fi, however you mean to, the exact same way you would Google Stadia. And it was praised. AT&T announced they were going to make another partnership. We're not too sure what that is. I suspect it might be Gotham Knights or Suicide Squad. Who knows? However, if you go to the website now, there is only Control, and they've changed the key artwork to just reflect Control, so it does look as though the Batman Arkham Knight promotion has now ended. Funnily enough, on the 7th anniversary of Arkham Knight, I don't know if you noticed that this week, Richie, but Batman were actually celebrating 7 years of the title launching, and then AT&T pull it, which it does make me wonder if it's connected in some way.
I don't think so. I think this is probably a case of they're running this game for a while, and then now they've got Control on. It's time to move on to the next thing. Bear in mind, they're not AT&T, not a video game company. They're probably, this is just like a little extra perk to try and entice you into buying a phone plan from them. So I think they'll just keep rotating what game they have on it.
True, but remember AT&T are part of Warner Brothers, which own Batman.
Yeah, but they don't know whether they want to be part of games or not.
I mean, yeah, they've been up for sale and they're trying to sell this and that for the last year or so. It must be coming up on almost 6 months since it launched. I wonder if it was a half a year promotion.
Yeah, it might have been. I hope they told their customers, because we don't know for certain, in advance that they were going to pull this game, because if you've been slowly playing through this game and suddenly it's gone, you're kind of just stuck.
Yeah.
If they told you like in like a couple of weeks in advance on this date it will no longer be available.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Go check out Control.
Yeah, that's a good point, because it's not like another promotion that you get with kind of mobile providers where you might get like 6 months Apple Music for free, and like when that stops, like oh well, I guess I have to pay. I have to pay for it now.
Music, yeah.
This is a case of you were what 90% through completing Arkham Knight. Tough, it's gone. Sorry.
And it's not even Arkham Knight is on Stadia, so you can't even do the whole thing. Oh, if you've been enjoying this, go buy it from our partners over at Google on Stadia.
It's gone.
It's gone. Yeah.
It's gone. Yeah, that's a great point. That I hadn't even considered that as someone who plays these games, obviously on elsewhere. Yeah, it's interesting. It does almost have me intrigued in a way that the future of all these mobile providers, they're all obviously trying to branch out and do different things. And we've seen promotions, as I said, with Apple Music and Spotify, and over in the UK, you get Sky Sports subscription models, you get access to BT Sport and other variety things to kind of make every deal seem a bit more lucrative than just calls, minutes, texts, internet. And gaming is something that they've probably not tapped into as much, but AT&T here could be onto something really good, where if you sign up to an iPhone plan with AT&T, they could cultivate a list of like AAA games that say, like, if you're a gamer, not only do you get your normal plan in Apple Music and whatever, but actually you get a handful of AAA titles to play as well for free through your mobile plan, and we won't use your data and all that kind of stuff. Interesting.
What I was thinking of it a slightly different way, where every month they bring on a new game on. This is your free game for this month, and the previous game just goes into a storefront so you can buy it.
I mean, that's the dream, right? That's what we've said.
And you slowly build the catalogue, and then actually that works into your idea of, if you want to pay for this subscription, you can get everything that's on this catalogue for that subscription price, or you can buy them individually. Basically almost like a Ubisoft Plus idea, but we don't know. That's up to AT&T. I think this is just largely because they're a phone provider. It's going to be hey, here's a cool game, we're going to do a promotion around this game, and after a couple of months ago, we're going to do a promotion around a different game, and that's just how it's going to be. Yeah.
It does make you wonder the timing with the promotional games. Like the Batman stuff would have been fantastic for the launch of the Batman in cinemas.
Yeah.
But we digress. Maybe AT&T will surprise us with a new title in the imminent future. And maybe, Richie, it no longer being available on this streaming promotion through AT&T may open the door for the game to come to the Google Stadia platform finally. Because
it would be really, really cool if now this is
Mr. Freeze?
AT&T Pro game.
Ooh, that would be a good one.
It's already on the
Stadia.
service.
Yeah. They're getting no use out of it anymore.
Towards the end of the month, we're about to start a new month. It fits. It's a AAA oldish title now. It fits kind of the MO for Stadia's
7th anniversary was this past week. Ooh, really, that could be. I mean, let's not get our hopes up, everyone.
It's plausible.
It's plausible. Yeah, but
That's where I'll leave it.
Yeah, but put yourself on ice, as Mr. Freeze would say. Chill. Let's not get carried away. But yes, like you said, if it's no longer in use as a promotion, the game is just sat there having no benefit, no use whatsoever. As a owner of that IP and that property, Rocksteady, Warner Brothers, why wouldn't you just put it on sale on Stadia and see if you can get a bit of return on your investment? Because it's doing nothing for you right now.
If you're not using it as your own promotion, just sell the game.
Well, Richie, you might just be the greatest detective in the world right now, but we'll have to wait until this coming week to find out what our pro game announcements are. But you know what? That would please me. I've been moaning about it for 6 months, but having it as a free pro title would be a really great get for the middle of summer. Remember, this time last year, we got Resident Evil Village. This year, looking a little bit more barren in terms of AAA offerings. So you know what? It might be a 7-year-old game, but it's a damn good game, and I'll certainly take it as a pro title for July. But interesting stuff. Moving on, we've got some Square Enix news this week. Of course, there's been lots of Square Enix news this year. And in a cloud solution kind of way, Square Enix have announced that they have a future and a strategic investment in cloud gaming. Not with Google Stadia, unfortunately, with a pioneering company, BlackNut. So, leading Japanese company invests in the B2B cloud gaming platform BlackNut. The leading independent cloud gaming provider today announced a strategic investment from gaming juggernaut Square Enix as it looks to meet the increasing worldwide demand for cloud gaming services. The investment will support ongoing research and development to cement BlackNut's technological lead, accelerate the market reach of its business-to-business solution, and further expand BlackNut's portfolio of games, which already boasts more than 500 titles from a host of well-known publishers. According to researcher Newzoo, cloud gaming generated more than $2 billion from 24 million subscribers in 2021. We are very proud to welcome Square Enix, a company that genre-defining franchises continue to win over generations, said the CEO of BlackNut. I won't read the full thing, it's all up there on blacknut.biz article. They intend to roll out in 45 countries spanning Europe with a bunch of different services. And essentially, the way I read into this, I will hand it over to you, Richie, big Square Enix fan, of course. Something's going on at Square Enix. They're selling off some of their IP. They're partnering with different people. They're making more Final Fantasy games than you can count months on a calendar. Should this have been Stadia?
I think that would be the ideal. I mean, we will talk about it in CloudQuest, and we keep mentioning this episode, but I still think the streaming technology element of Stadia is the best in the business right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, according to this, BlackNut are the leading independent ones.
I mean,
whatever that means.
What's the word independent mean in this sense? Because you're independent of Google, but Google is
privately owned,
single entity. Yeah, it's like I really don't know what you mean by independent.
It's selling it's buzzwords to sell your own brand, isn't it? It's their own website, so of course they're going to do that.
It's a word. Anyway, we digress. I think Stadia would have a massive stream would have been the probably the ideal. Maybe the cost was too high. BlackNut maybe undercut them. Mm-hmm. Maybe BlackNut being a smaller entity means Square get a bit more leverage. But Square, they're definitely making moves. I mean, selling off some of the studios, so they're condensing down the library. Mm-hmm. Now they're investing in business-to-business cloud platform. I wouldn't be surprised if we get like a Ubisoft Plus service out of Square in the not too distant future.
I mean, this is the stuff we've kind of mentioned with Stadia going kind of white label, is that we've kind of predicted the tea leaves for some time now that every publisher and developer out there could just have their game through a URL link with no need of a platform. and you could just sell your Final Fantasy game direct. Don't buy the PS5 for £499. Don't buy the game for £70. Just buy it through our B2B streaming service, and you can play Final Fantasy on any device you own.
I'm not sure how it works for Square because they have a lot of platform exclusive titles.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of legalities mixed up in all of their stuff.
Yeah,
that they do.
so like Final Fantasy 16, for example, is probably one of the biggest titles people are looking forward to. That and 7 Rebirth. Both plan to be PlayStation exclusive, with probably a PC release later down the line.
Mm-hmm. Weird.
So if let's say there's a Square Enix Plus service where you can get all the games as a subscription in the cloud, do you not get them games until they come over to the PC? That initial PlayStation exclusivity ends.
Yeah,
I don't know. They're definitely making moves. It's definitely worth paying attention to. Well, I don't really know anything about BlackNut. This is the first I've heard.
Yeah, well, it says over like 500 titles and such, and if you look at their website under like publishers, it has big names. It's got some that will be very, very familiar with, funnily enough, Richie, when it comes to cloud gaming. You've got Wired Productions is there, Handy Games is there, Nakon, Milestone, Team 17, Outright Games, Deep Silver. All these publishers are working with Stadia at the moment. Disney is on there. Not many other ones that are big, no EA, no Ubisoft. But, again, you do wonder, all these smaller companies that are building cloud gaming needs, they're fulfilling a kind of gap in the industry. A lot of mobile-type games, it looks like. If you go into brands, I can see titles like Spitlings, Avicii and Vectors on there, Star Wars Force Unleashed, which must be the Disney one. It's interesting. But, yeah, again, the thing with cloud gaming, it's in such its infancy, and it's such a big potential market. They said there it was like 2.5 billion players subscribed over last year, so the numbers are big and they're only going to get bigger, and this is why we know Stadia positioned well. They just need to get their foot in the right places at the right time. But we'll keep an eye on BlackNut and Square Enix, because again, they're doing interesting things. We've got Boostroid kind of confirmation this week as well. For those who don't know, Boostroid's another cloud gaming thing similar to GeForce Now, where you get a powerful PC to stream to your display. We've got Stadia, you've got Luna still rolling out worldwide, PlayStation Plus reader, we've got Game Pass doubling down with Microsoft and Xbox Cloud Gaming. It's a crazy market to be in, Richie. It certainly is, but we'll keep an eye on them because they're doing stuff. Yeah. Bringing it back around.
Might do a CloudQuest on them at one point.
Yeah, we'll keep one eye open. Moving it back around to some game news this week. Final few stories. Figment 2 had a release trailer for Stadia a good while back now, actually. Our friend Brian Chappell over at the Nerf Report has confirmed via social media that Figment 2 is going to be coming to Google Stadia in line with the launch on other platforms as very soon. So it's stated to come to Nintendo Switch very soon, and he reached out to the Bedtime Digital Games over on Twitter to ask if it's coming to Stadia, and they confirmed by saying it will be a simultaneous launch with other platforms. So it does look like it will be dropping on Google Stadia. At the same time, it's set for an October 15th release. So a few more weeks to wait for Figment 2. Cool. Did you check out Figment 1?
I didn't.
No.
I should have done. I just didn't.
Yeah, it wasn't really an art style. I think at the time it was very... Not in my wheelhouse, I would say, is the nicest way of saying it. Just like a few of other games from the next story of the week, WayForward, the Shantae, Genie's Revenge, Half Genie, all those type of ones. We've also got a title Switch Force Collection due out imminently. I think it got an ESRB rating a few shows ago. WayForward CEO has hinted at more titles coming to Google Stadia. So the CEO and Way founder who's been interviewed by our good friend John Scar over at 4Scar Gaming. Go check his channel out with Ninja Guy X as well. And during the interview, he spoke about the probability of additional titles being released on Google Stadia and responded to the following comments. River City Girls 2 is in fresh development. The team is active on it. All we have to do is keep them for a little bit longer after launch to come out with a Stadia version. So that would be easy to do as it's running in Unity. So River City Girls 2 launched earlier this year on other platforms, and apparently it looks like the CEO is just quite happy to, once they're sorted with other platforms, they're just going to move on to make another part. The second most
like, it's easy for them, then no problem.
Why do I do it? The second followed up as well as saying Spidersaurus. Not on Stadia yet, but that one is in our internal engine. We've already ported to Stadia using that engine, so that one will be the second easiest to get out and second most likely. So this guy just dropping bombshells on John's show. If you've not checked out any of John and Ninja Guy's interviews, they do some fantastic stuff, ask some very relevant questions. And it's nice to know that a CEO of a company is just so forward with information regarding game releases.
I think it's easier when you are the CEO of a company.
Yeah, you're not really answering to anyone else, are you?
The market team sat behind and said, "Oh Christ, Dave, stop saying things."
Stop it! Yeah, you're giving it away. So, yeah, check it out. Go check out John's interview for the whole thing. And it looks like we've got 2 additional titles from WayForward, potentially, probably by the end of the year. The way he's so relaxed, blasé. He's just kind of, yeah, we'll get them out. It doesn't sound like there's much effort really required into porting them across, which is, again, low-key porting tools. That was the promise. Using things like Unity that run in Linux, that's what you want. So, win-win. And then final few stories of the week. ARK Survival got an update. We missed it on last week's show just due to the nature of the time when we recorded. ARK is getting a winter expansion update. Actually, it's out now, I should say that. I don't know how to pronounce it, Richie. It's spelled Fjordur. Fjordur? Either way, it's a Nordic theme set in a fantastical multi-layered frosty wonderland. It's the biggest expansion Ark Survival Vault has seen in quite some time. It's got exclusive new creatures. It's got new areas to explore. A massive 140 square kilometre map, a new biome with challenges, rewarding discoveries. So now might quite be the right time to jump into this survival first-person crafting adventure. I enjoyed ARK when I played of it, Richie, but it was never going to get me fully in. I don't have the time commitment in my life to jump into this, but it's great to see that they are still supporting it, especially because they've got ARK 2 due out in the imminent future as well with Vin Diesel.
I think ARK might be one in the future. It might be worthwhile going back and doing a stream on them, because we haven't. I mean, when it was a shit show when it came out.
Yeah. Well, so until you went into the coding and tweaked it yourself.
Yeah, I mean that's what I mean. If you have to go in the console and use commands to get the game playable, then you got a bad game. But if they fixed a lot of the bugs and stuff, it might be worth giving it a look. I think it could be fun for like a stream. Yeah, it's not something I get myself sucked into. But for a couple of hours on the stream, I think it'd be cool. Yeah,
ARK's one of those games where if I had this title when I was 13, 14, and I didn't have a care in the world, I had no responsibilities, no bills, and I just had every afternoon and weekend off to do what I wanted, ARK is something I would...
How much your time's worth.
Yeah, ARK is something that I would 100% jump so far down the rabbit hole onto. It's kind of like just anything really, like things like Minecraft and that. I know you got sucked into the World of Warcraft quite a lot back in the day. It's one of those games that it's so expansive and never-ending. You really just could see yourself getting lost in it. So anyone out there who plays ARK, I know you put hundreds and hundreds of hours into it. So more content for you.
It's what I describe as a hobby game, where the game itself becomes a hobby rather than gaming being a hobby. Yeah.
Do you class yourself as an ARK player or a gamer? But yeah. Interesting. Go fill your boots, of course. ARK 2 out in the near future. They had another trailer drop at Summer Games Fest too. So that's a nice one to see going on the back of that. Final story of the week. I just wanted to add this one as a nice little point of note. All of the Summer Games Fest stuff was out there, and I've started noticing Samsung Gaming Hub on social media is a thing. They've got their own Twitter handle now. They're starting to promote these new range of 2022 Samsung televisions that feature cloud gaming heavily. The TVs have built-in hardware to the benefit of cloud gaming. And on their Gaming Hub dashboard, you've got Xbox, which Samsung have clearly partnered with Xbox. You can get Game Pass when you buy a Samsung mobile phone. There's Game Pass sponsorships within the mobile industry in the UK. We were talking earlier on about like Apple Music and stuff. Game Pass is one of those for the future, I guarantee it. But on that screen, you've also got GeForce Now, Stadia, Utomic, and then you've got your consoles. And essentially, the Gaming Hub is one place to keep everything in your TV in a more streamlined, user-friendly interface. And just looking through the website, it's laid out really nice. It shows you the best of gaming in one place, discover new games and old favourites, advanced streaming tech built straight into your TV, play instantly, no new gear required. It's really, really selling the dream of cloud gaming. And every one of the images they've got up there has Stadia alongside Xbox and GeForce Now. And what I love to see is if you go down the website, it's on Samsung.com, you can find it through there. Proud partnerships. It's got 4 logos, Richie. Xbox, GeForce Now, Stadia, and Utomic. And I just think that this website is doing more to promote Stadia than Stadia actually is. The trailer, even though the trailer is very much Xbox Game Pass focused, you can't deny that every time you see one of these brand new TVs shown off, it's got the Stadia logo on it. And it goes back to almost like Logo Gate, a different version of Logo Gate, where we said before, they don't have a physical presence in stores, but if you go into, in the UK, a PC World, I'm sure in America, a GameStop, a Walmart, wherever sells TVs, and they have all of the promotional content running on the displays, that's the place where you will see Stadia part of this Game Hub advertisement. So shout out to Samsung. You're doing some good work on cloud gaming just by promoting it with your new range of TVs. I like it.
And the Gaming Hub seems customizable. There is an edit button as well, so it looks like you can edit how it displays, which is awesome.
Yeah, it looks like you can...
Is anyone from Samsung listening? I'm in the market for a new TV. I'm just saying.
Need a nice new shiny one. It does actually make me think. I have 2 of the LG TVs because I really rate LG for value in terms of they're not overly expensive, but you get a really quality TV out of them.
Everything I've heard is LG seems to be the way to go at the moment.
Yeah. Well, I remember when you were around mine when we watched the Ubisoft Forward last summer, because you hadn't been in this room before because we only had it converted last Christmas. And I remember you coming in and it was just I think it was showing like the Crew maybe off or something. Yeah. And I remember you going like, "Oh wow, that's crazy."
Well, what you have to remember is Chris has got, was that a 72 or something?
I actually can't remember. It's a big one.
It's a fairly large TV where the couch isn't actually that far away. It's a 4K OLED, and I'm used to a 1080p LCD old Sony.
Yeah,
that is too small for the room. It's like this jump up in quality is huge.
Yeah,
like my TV is absolutely fine. It's just didn't buy it for my current house. I bought it for my old flat, and it's only 1080p. Which and that's why I say I need an upgrade. I just can't afford one.
It's just getting around to it.
So Samsung.
We'll do a whole video.
I will happily review your TV and give you a sponsorship shot on all of our shows for like a year.
Well, don't just sell it away. I want one as well if we're doing it for every show. But yeah, you should reach out to them, Richie. I'd like to say our channel's big enough now to get us a Samsung gaming TV. We'll do a review. It's worth it. If you don't shoot your shot, you miss all the shots you don't take. Right, but that is Samsung Gaming Hub doing some great promotional work for all cloud gaming, not just Google Stadia out there. But it's a very clean website. It's very Samsung, and I'm looking forward to seeing what this gaming hub potentially looks like and some of the added features that could maybe link into it in the future. But, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to an end for episode number 144 of your weekly Stadia show, the Sounds of Stadia Podcast, where myself and Richie round up all of the gaming and Stadia news for your listening or viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/Helix Cloud Games, or up there in the digital cloud on your podcast preference of choice. Thank you very much for tuning in. Don't forget to check out CloudQuest. If you are a Helix Hero, you get CloudQuest up to 6 days early right here. Richie, what are we talking about on this week's episode of CloudQuest?
This week we are talking about our first impressions hands-on with PlayStation Plus and seeing how they compare to our other experiences with cloud gaming, including Stadia.
Does Stadia beat the shit out of PlayStation Plus? We'll have to find out. And if you're a Helix Hero, you can go check it out right now. There's one way of putting it. Who knows? Of course, it does.
I want to see someone make some fan art of that.
With a stick. Now, I'm sure there's fan art, but it leads to the wrong place. It does go up on free feeds every Friday right here on YouTube. If you don't want to toss us the extra few pounds to support the channel, do not fear. But if you do, you get perks, stickers, badges, and other exclusive content. So it's worthwhile checking out from as little as 99 pence. Do not also miss out on our episode 2 of Talking the PS, our new weekly PlayStation podcast where we round up all the PlayStation and cloud gaming news on the same channel, all the same feeds. We will get it up on all podcast services eventually once Apple and Google Podcasts decide to play nice with us and they verify that we're not doing something we shouldn't be doing out there in the podcast world. I was going to make a joke then, but then I was like, whatever word I drop in here, it's not going to be a good note to leave the show on. So I'll leave it as it is. That's been episode 144. Thank you for watching, liking, subscribing, doing all the magic that you do. Do share with your friends. Jump into our Discord if you want to chat with other members of the Helix community. We love you all. Thank you very much for watching. My name's been Chris.
And I've been Richie.
And remember, everyone, play whatever makes you the happiest. Have a great week. Good luck on them pro games, and we'll see you soon. Goodbye.
Bye.